which involves platelet concentrates. It also involves fresh frozen plasma, as well as something called cryoprecipitate. And finally, to ensure that there is appropriate clinical use of blood. Those are the things that ensures that blood is safe. So you can have blood and not need blood. It's not everybody that has a problem with the plaque cell volume that needs to be transfused. So every patient must be taken as an individual. And when you need the red cells for transfusion, we shouldn't give you platelet concentrates. So there must be appropriate clinical use of blood. Those are the things that helps us to achieve that vision of having safe blood transfused at appropriate healthcare facilities.
Okay, so a quick question popped into my head while you were speaking. For a patient that just brought in from an accident scene, for instance, how do you know which the person's blood group or the person's genotype for you to be able to ascertain the correct blood that the person needs?
Yeah.
Or is it that you pick, because we talked about it last week,
yes,
pick the O negative,
yes,
because that is a universal donor.
Yes.
Okay.
So usually when we have emergencies, not just from accident victims, it might be maybe collapse, disasters generally. Yes. So we don't just go with the normal process. There's something called the emergency release protocol, and we also have something called the massive transfusion protocol. So if a patient is bleeding, you need blood, you do not have time to do that processing.
Yes.
The first thing that
the person doesn't have any kind of card
or anything. So the first thing we do, the patient's blood sample would have been collected, and then we give the O negative. The blood group O negative does not need. Once you are sure that you have done the pre-donation testing for the donor blood, and you are sure that is a blood group, you can transfuse. You don't need to do an immediate cross match, because that patient needs that blood save life. But however, if the O negative is not available, remember the next thing, we want to give the blood group O positive that has always also been pre-tested to confirm the blood group. And whilst we are doing that, we'll continue with the cross grouping and cross match. So all these things, even though we are giving to save life, the grouping and cross match goes on, so that by the time that first pint is done, or even before it is done, you're able to cross match the appropriate blood the patient needs before the end. So it takes about 3 to 4 hours to transfuse a unit of blood. That is enough time for us to do the preliminary testing for that patient, to know every result the patient needs, and to do the appropriate processing for transfusion.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you very much for answering my question. So then, what is the essence of all the processes that makes blood safe for transfusion, concentrating on Lagos State?
So the essence is just safety. You said it already. The most important thing is we have to do all these things to make sure that the blood we are transfusing is safe. So it's not just transfused. By collecting blood from voluntary blood donors, we're also thinking about the state of the voluntary donor. It's all about safety of the donor and safety of the person being transfused. We really do not want to try to cure or manage a particular ailment, and then the person goes on with something else. So that is the major reason we have to do that, and it must be done in accordance with international best practices, our safety standards, because blood is there's no alternative to blood. I know blood, once you transfuse it goes in. It's like the Honorable Commissioner of Health, Professor Akabayomi, says all the time, when you transfuse blood, you're having a mini transplant. So what we take and assume is a simple procedure is actually similar to a transplant, because you are taking a part of somebody's body and you are putting it into another person's body, and then the body will have to take it up and own it. So it's just like a transplant. I don't want to use all those words like engraftment and all those things. So you are actually doing a mini transplant for someone. So for you to have a transplant, any organ transplant, you know that there are so many things that must be done, and it must be done to perfection. Same thing with blood. It has to be done, and it must be done to perfection. So the whole essence is to ensure that the blood is safe, the donor is safe, the person being transfused also takes that blood and leaves feeling safe without any form of infections or transfusion or adverse reactions happening to that person.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, it's still Safe Blood Arena on Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. So if you've just tuned in, Well, you haven't missed much, but you have missed a little. But we'll tell you more in a bit. A quick update, this one from Imota Access movement all the way from Sabo Roundabout and Sabo Market Gate inward Alaka to connect Itamaga is a good one. On the return journey from Itamaga down to Alaka is also a good one, but a slight delay in front of Sabo Market Gate, but nothing to worry about. We'll have traffic managers firmly on ground during the needful. Itamaga inward, Lucky Fiber, Maya down to Adamo is also a good one. Adamo inward, Imota down to Agbowa will also have a good movement. Itamaga roundabout inward, Umitoro, Eleshi, Elepwe down to Jede is looking good as well. And Elepwe inward, AP to connect Berigbe is also a good one. On Eko Bridge, we'll have a slow movement on TMS Bridge inward of Canal stretched to Ijora Lokba by NEPA. This is due to ongoing road maintenance work, which the construction company just started from Mogmo by Eko Bridge inward Costain. Slow and steady movement on Broad Street stretch to Mogmo underneath the bridge, connecting Ofe Canal Market and Ologbo Bridge. Descending CMS Bridge inward UBA roundabout to connect Ina Marina and Mogmo underneath the bridge. It's a steady movement from Costain end by Eko Bridge inward Ijara Olokma by NEPA stretch to Mogbo. Okay, so my next question is, what does it cost to access blood in Lagos State, and what has the government done to make it affordable?
When you talk about costs, everybody's here is just to
Oh yes, you're right.
Money matters.
Money matters.
Money, finance, and healthcare are issues that we really do need to talk about. So thank you for that question. Every time that question is asked anywhere, I'm always eager to want to talk about it.
Okay.
So the access fee, I like to say the access fee, not the cost, because blood cannot be sold. Blood is free. It is donated free, and it should be kept free, because we don't have alternatives to it. However, because of all these processes, it incurs an access fee to it. The collection of the blood, you need to have consumables bought. You know, we have talked about those specialized bags that are always imported. We have talked about consumables like gloves, like needles and syringes. And for people that donate blood within the hospital space that are not voluntary blood donors, there is something called a pre-donation test, where they use a rapid test kit to screen the donors, and all those tests also cost some money. We look at that is with respect to the blood collection, so that incurs a cost. The other part that incurs a cost that cumulates to the access fee is the processing costs. So blood is kept in cold chain. So we must talk about the equipment used, the blood banks. We must talk about the maintenance of the blood banks. We must talk about the electricity that you should pay, especially with this band A story now. You know that, and we must have it in cold chain at all times. All those things, they incur a cost. Under the processing too, we talk about that compatibility test, which is really important. Compatibility test can be done multiple times before donation. You do some grouping, just before transfusion you do a compatibility test, where you do a grouping and do a cross matching, and it involves the use of a lot of reagents, and it goes on and on down to the screening of blood. I'm proud to say that in Lagos State, which is the only state that has a policy that fully automated systems should be used to screen blood. And instead of using the rapid test kits that has a lot of false positives or false negatives, we use a fully automated system to ensure that the possibility of having wrong results are minimal, so that we keep the window period to as minimal as possible. So there will be no issues of an infectious agent thereafter. All these things do cost money. As of now, in the public sector, due to the highly subsidized rates Mr. Governor has done, I really do need to appreciate Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who has subsidized the cost of blood for years, and he has increased the subsidy, especially for the public health facilities. So it is screening itself is 5,000, and the total access fee is 7,000 in public health facilities. So if you go to a public health facility, out of pocket payment is 7,000. 7,000. But if you go to the private facilities outside, the cost ranges from 25,000 to even 60,000 in some places. And why is this so? The subsidy is not there, you know. The government subsidized the screening part of it, but they also have a lot of overheads. And so I use this opportunity to encourage people to access care from public health facilities. Also, I encourage people listening also to get registered to the Ilera insurance health scheme, because once you are registered into a health scheme or the health insurance scheme, they take up the cost of blood for you. It stands to reason, really. People keep saying, oh, why must blood which is donated free paid for? I always use this example. You do not take crude oil from the floor, from the soil, and put it in your vehicle like that. Neither do you use crude oil to cook. All this, it has to go through a process. And then, you know, blood is just like crude oil, really, because you must separate it into the red cells, all those components like fresh frozen plasma, platelet concentrates, cryoprecipitates, all of them have their own special or different indications, and they all help to save lives. So it is, as I say, you do not give something and have adverse effects after giving it. It is wrong. We must ensure that the blood is well processed, well screened, and that whosoever is receiving the blood is able to say, I've had a blood transfusion and it felt safe and I did not have any form of adverse reaction or infections from it.
So again, let's reiterate the benefits of voluntary blood donation, especially for the donor and their immediate family members.
Yes, so beautiful. I love that. You should come to the blood transfusion service and spend more time with us.
I will come.
So one of the benefits of being a voluntary blood donor is that when the donor or the family members need blood, you don't have to pay for screening. It's a very, very good one, because during when people are ill, there's a lot of out-of-pocket payments. And it's so comforting that when you need that blood, you don't need to pay for it. So please be a voluntary donor and benefit from it. Peradventure, you or your family members will need that blood.
Exactly. Okay, so that is a clarion call, and also because there's a constant need for blood in the blood bank. So when a family member comes and, you know, it's used for the blood, it has to be replaced.
Yes.
Somebody somewhere is replacing
that blood.
So somebody somewhere is also using it. Somebody is replaced, somebody is using it. It's important to have more people take up that challenge to become voluntary blood donors. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Bodori Oshikomaya, the Executive Secretary, Lagos State Blood Transfusion Services, for answering our questions. Yes, let me come to you, Taiwo. All right, so Taiwo, tell us the different blood currency methods and how do they affect the safety of blood?
Okay, you mean blood screening methods? Yeah.
At least you get it.
Yeah, I get it, definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, there are many ways through which blood can be screened. And like I always say, and like my ears have said, the safest source of blood is the voluntary donor. And that's the first level of screening, basically. You know, if a system or a state or a society wants safe blood, the first level of screening of that safe blood should be, they should advocate for voluntary blood donation. So the second level is, there's a questionnaire that the donors fill that, you know, asks important questions on their life, on their health, and different things that would, you know, help us to eliminate those that are not fit at that time, and maybe defer them to the future, to when they are fit to donate. But after the donation has been done, you know, the blood has been collected, it has to be processed. And part of the processing is screening it, testing it for transfusion transmissible infections. So we're talking, like my ear said, we're going to screen for HIV 1 and 2, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and for syphilis, as recommended by the WHO. So in the past, there used to be what we call rapid test kits, rapid diagnostic tests. But that has been phased out for blood screening. And what we use now, we either use ELISA or chemiluminescence or nucleic acid testing. And the reason why we use this because it reduces the window period of infection for the blood. So someone that donates blood, that's someone that gets an infection and wants to donate blood without knowing. The test that we do now reduces the window period, so we can detect infection earlier than before, which was not possible with rapid kits. And even with these ones that I mentioned, the ELISA method, that's enzyme immunoassay, and the chemiluminescence. For chemiluminescence, it's even more sensitive than the ELISA method. And then the nucleic acid testing is actually getting the nucleic acid of the viruses that we're looking for, which is a very specific and very sensitive procedure. So these are, in a nutshell, these are the blood screening methods that is used globally now.
So let's quickly take a look at how this affects blood safety and security, because a lot of people, we've discussed it before, that one of the myths, one of the reasons people feel that they don't want to donate blood is because or they don't want to even accept to be transfused, is because they are afraid that there could be an infection, they could contact an infection from that, as it happened in the past. So, but now you're saying that there are more careful screening procedures that every donated blood goes through before it is transfused. So nobody has any reason to be afraid.
Nobody. I mean, the first thing, like my ear said, appropriate use of blood. So if you don't need the blood, you're not going to be transfused with it in the first place. That's also another layer of safety. So it's only those that need it that get it. But the first layer is getting the blood from the right source, which is voluntary blood donation. The next layer,
not paid for,
not commercial donors, not people that just want to make money and you can't vouch for the kind of life that they live. Like my ear said, the voluntary donor is more honest, is more open. He knows when he knows when he's not fit in a way, and he's not going to present himself then. But someone that needs money is all about the money. So the next step, we go further, we do the testing, the laboratory testing, to look for these infectious agents, transmissible infections. The ones that have them, we eliminate them, we remove them from the system. Nobody gets them, but we destroy them. So the ones that are free from these transmissible infections are the ones that, are given out to people to use. So it is safe. As long as you pass through the Lagos State blood transfusion system, you can be sure that any blood that you receive is safe.
You can't come through the back door.
No, at all.
All right. All right. So in rounding off, Dr. Oshikomaya, what's your final word, especially to those who are still thinking, who are still sitting on the fence about coming forward as voluntary blood donors, and how they can also get to be a part of the donor community?
So blood is life. And no matter how much investigations are being done and studies that are being done, there is still no alternative for blood. You could always have other forms of treatment to ensure that people are alive for a limited period, but without blood, there really is nothing that can be done. And so we want you to be a lifesaver. We want you to be somebody's hero. We want you to be the person that will keep a smile on somebody's face. Many people have asked, and just as we have discussed too, is that why is it that when blood is given free, then you must pay before it is transfused? We know that you are safe, we know that you have given the blood, but we still need to do the appropriate processing. So don't think about it. Just think about the life you're saving. Come over, be one of the members of the donor community. And remember, peradventure, somebody needs blood. They can also have a benefit from it through you.
Okay, well said. All right, so as we round off, I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Bodri Oshikomaya, the Executive Secretary, Lagos State Blood Transfusion Services, for being on the program today. Yes. And also to Mr. Taiwo Oloko, the Quality Assurance Officer at LSBTS. Thank you also for being on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so if you're listening or if you've just missed this episode again, not to worry. Just head over to our YouTube channel, Traffic Radio 961, where you can watch all the back episodes of the program. And then you can always get in touch with LSBTS. Their Facebook page is Lagos Blood Transfusion. Again, on Facebook, Lagos Blood Transfusion. On Instagram, it's Lagos State Blood Transfusion. And on X, formerly Twitter, is Lagos BTS. Telephone number is 0806 920 7914. Again, 0806 920 7914. Safe Blood Arena has been brought to you courtesy Lagos State Blood Transfusion Services. My name is Dile Agadumo. Executive producer Tayo Akonle. A big thanks also goes to Victor Terry. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll be back next week with another edition of the program on Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM.